Hey guys, this is the FANA Fan Podcast. I'm Ben.
And I'm Topless, and for all you Groundhoppers out there, this podcast is for you. For those of you who read my Nostal Miners Welfare blog, you will notice that I met a few Groundhoppers that night, and tonight we're joined by one of them. It's Ken. How are you, mate?
Well, thank you. Are you good, gents?
Yep. Good, mate. Thank you for coming on. It's great to have you.
No trouble.
Right, Ken, what's your background in football?
Oh, how long you got? I could
all the time in the world, mate.
I could do you hours just on that. Without answering any questions. I've just been mad about football ever since I was a kid. My earliest memories are watching. Because obviously I'm a child of the 70s, and we didn't have much football on telly back then. About 3, 4, 5 live games a year, and just watched everything I could. And we didn't live. My mum and dad didn't have a car, so and I'm guessing money were probably tight and all, so we didn't go to football. So we just watched everything that was on telly, and I did things like collected the sticker books and football cards and stuff out of chewing gum and what have you. And yes, I think the earliest memory was watching Chris Woods keep a clean sheet for Notts Forest in the 1978 League Cup final, and spiral from there, and been going 40 odd years now. So as soon as I could, any chance I got to go to football, I did. I was saying to you just before we were on air, I lived in Biggleswade, who are now Southern League Premier Division. Back then they were about step 6, I think, and we used to be at the time, their old ground had a hole in the fence, and me and my mate used to leave our bikes by the hole in the fence, go through the hole in the fence, and watch the games that way. So, over the years, as I've gone further afield, where Biggleswade is, if you go one way up the railway line, it takes you to Peterborough. You go the other way, takes you to Arsenal. So Finsbury Park. So we used to get off at Finsbury Park, go to Arsenal. Another week we go up the other way and go and watch Peterborough, and that was how it was. And back then you could get in for I think it was £2 at Peterborough, and at Arsenal, it was a hell of a price. It used to cost £3.50 to get in at Arsenal. The sort of prices now, you look at them, and it's not the people's game anymore, is it? It's priced out of the market of a lot of these kids and these days. But yeah, so that's what sort of brought me to. That's how I sort of got into football and been going ever since. Still go and watch Peterborough, and I think the last time I went, when did we lock down last time? About March.
Yeah, March.
So yeah, I think I'd been to a game beginning of March. Certainly saw us get hammered 4-0 at Rotherham about New Year's, just before New Year. So like I say, it don't get any better.
So obviously, when I met you at Nostal that night, you talked about you had an affiliation with Leeds United as well.
It's because I always tell the joke and say, well, my dad's not a football fan; he supports Norwich City. But he wasn't a particular football fan, so he didn't sort of force me in supporting anyone in particular, and so I could sort of form my own allegiances. And I've actually found over the years that really what it is, I just love football. I just love the live game. Absolutely love the live game. I will go and watch anybody. My team my league team, that's Peterborough. I'll go and watch them as often as I can. Mm-hmm. But I ended up at Frickley because my brother-in-law Chris, he broke his hip, and the reason he goes to Leeds because he's from round these parts. I went to Leeds because I lived here. I came when I married my wife. She was from up this way, and we lived in Leeds. Her job was in Leeds, so back then I couldn't drive, so going to Peterborough wasn't really an option. And I started going sort of on the bus to Leeds United, and sort of ended up going there for sort of 10 years. And then I say my brother-in-law broke his hip, and so he couldn't really go to a big football crowd. There was no way. He was on his crutches, and you can't really get into Leeds United on crutches. It's difficult. But he was desperate for a bit of football, and he said, "Oh, my gran used to live right near the Frickley ground. Should we? Do you fancy taking me down there?" And so we ended up going down there, and the rest is history. That was about 5 years ago, and hardly missed a game now in 5 years. So it's like Jake said, you meet people, don't you, at non-league football?
Absolutely.
It's not like when you go to league games. When I was at Leeds for 10 years, I knew the half dozen people that sat around me. Whereas you go to non-league and you walk into just about any game anywhere in Yorkshire and you'll know somebody. And even if you don't know somebody, you'll strike up a conversation with someone, won't you?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
For sure.
I went to a random game at Avro a couple of winters ago when it was really bad weather, because obviously Avro's 3G. So the game stayed on. It was about the only game that stayed on in the north of England. So I went there and ended up stood next to a bloke that had been on trial at Bury with Colin Bell, the Man City footballer. And he said Colin Bell was the reason that he gave up his dream of professional football, because he said, well, if that's the standard of professional footballers, because I've got no chance, and gave it up there and then got a job as a tool maker. But this is the sort of thing you meet people that tell you these sort of tales, don't you? So you can't whack it, can you? Can't whack it.
No. I mean, the whole reason this episode's being filmed tonight is because we've all met each other at a non-league ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was about the last game, wasn't it? Before
It was the day before the November lockdown, weren't it? Yeah.
That were it. Yeah. Dear, oh dear.
Get it all in while you can.
Well, exactly. Yeah. It was doing it sort of while it were legal, wasn't it? It were.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a right game if I remember rightly.
4-0, weren't it? Yeah. 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Partgate got battered. Nostell played really well that night.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Oh, you always get a good game down at Nostell, don't you?
It was my first time, but after you saying that, I can definitely agree with.
Yeah. And they don't have many call-offs either at Nostell. You don't see them often getting rained off or off because of frozen pitch. They've got a pretty good record for that. So you'll often get a game there when there's nothing on elsewhere. I think it's because it's in that, it's like in that hollow, isn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously creates some sort of getting scientific, creates some sort of atmospheric phenomenon that keeps their pitch dry, unfrozen.
It's got that because on one side of Nostell's ground, it's really up high. You get a great vantage point. You have a good commentary box up there, wouldn't you?
Oh God, yeah.
I'm guessing that probably blocks off some of the drizzle from the wind. If you know what I mean, as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Great
nice.
ground. The pitch looked immaculate as well, I must say, as well.
Yeah.
It was raining a little bit that night.
Yeah, well, when you look at what some of the pitches are like, by the end of the season, that one was looking pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably about the only good thing about these lockdowns, these pitches will get a real chance to recover, and you'd like to think they'll be in proper decent nick next year, but we'll see.
Fingers crossed. So, you work with Frickley Athletic, I believe, Ken?
Yeah, I do now. It's it's almost out of guilt, because when I went along with Chris, because my brother-in-law, he's got lots of media skills, and he's filming. He used to have a company where he used to film weddings. He's a teacher now, but he used to film weddings. So we haven't been going more than 2 or 3 weeks before he said, "Oh, does anyone ever film your games?" And they said, "Oh, no." And he said, "Oh, would you like me to film your games?" So he borrowed a camera from work and started filming games, and I was just his chauffeur, really. And I was sort of getting in for nothing, and felt a bit sort of guilty, not pulling my weight other than, well, pulling his weight, taking him to games. And when they needed someone to, the program editor, Gareth was he was looking to sort of not be program editor, and said, "Do you fancy it?" And I said, "Yeah, go on, I'll have a go." Me keep, and sort of 5 years later, I co-edit the program. I do the match day announcing. We do radio commentary at away games, and I'm sort of part-time webmaster when the proper talented webmaster Mick is on his holidays. So so Groundhopping is it's Frickley when Frickley are on, but then when Frickley aren't on and there's other games available, ground hopping. I'd advise it to anyone because you get to see how our club works, and then you also get the joy of ground hopping. So I think our mutual friend Jack, he does a bit of volunteering at Parkgate, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah. So only home games for Frickley then.
Oh no, home and away, wherever they are, that's where I am.
Okay.
So
ground hopping for your away games then, yeah.
Wisbeach, Spalding, anywhere.
Yep.
I'm with them,
Wow.
but obviously they only have 46 games a year or 38 games a year, don't they? Plus cup games.
Yes.
So there's plenty of midweeks to go out and get out ground hopping.
No, that's great. So you're the voice of Frickley then.
Well, I am on home match.
Yeah.
I do the announce the teams and stuff like that. The previous gentleman that used to do it was absolute club legend, and Keith was the announcer for years, and he sadly passed away about 3 or 4 years ago, and I sort of took over from him. And then away games, say we use trying to think what the app's called.
Footballogy.
Mixler. That's what we use.
Oh,
we use Mixler for doing commentaries. We've got our own channel on there, and so we'll commentate for people, because obviously at home we get about, it varies, on a good day we get about 200, 220, and then but away we take a pretty good away following of about, I don't know, 30, 40, maybe 50, but we do match day commentaries for anyone that wants to listen. And our top figures, I think we once got 39 people listening. Big time.
Wow.
Normally we get about 10. But, we think, well, if there's one person listening, we've done that person a favour. And all we've got to do is stand there and chat rubbish about the game, Like we say who's scored and what's going on. They tend to be happy.
Yeah. Well, not another commentator. You know what that means, Ben?
Yeah.
We are. I mean, we don't claim any sort of talent, but we just, and we're so biased. We always advise anyone that's listening for the other team, don't either come down to the ground or listen to their commentary, because we spend half the game going moaning about refs and stuff like that. So.
Fair dues. It's more like fan zone sort of thing, but just one-sided fan zone.
We try and make sure that if a goal goes in, we'll tell you how it was scored and who scored it, and we'll try and tell you what time it was scored. But that's about as accurate as it gets. It's the sort of thing after we've done the recording, we delete it so there's no evidence. That sort of thing.
So in terms of non-league football and ground hopping, what's been the highlight so far, would you say?
Oh, it brings you all back to the people, innit? It's the people you meet, and that access you get that you just don't get at any other sort of level of football. You don't get to have a conversation after the game with your centre forward. You don't, and you get insights into the game you wouldn't get. You meet people you wouldn't get. As I say, I've met some of my best friends over the last few years at Frickley and through non-league football. And you're meeting people new all the time. And say, met you just the other day, and here we are a few months later. We're doing a podcast together. It's that sort of connection, and that's the real thing, isn't it? But then, if you want another reason, it's just a different game. I've got I've been watching the Spurs game just a bit back, and it's not the same. It's not the same football. The way they play is just completely different to how they play in a non-league game. It's more direct. I remember our centre forward, Jacob Hazel, scored a club record 47 a couple of seasons back, and he said, the pitch you're playing on, he goes, it looks like you're always looking at your feet. He goes, you're looking at your feet because the ball's bobbling all over the place. It's not like playing on a league pitch where it's like a carpet. You've got to keep your eye on the ball because it could be going anywhere.
Yeah,
you can't get your head up to see what's going on, and you play a completely different sort of game. And because these lads aren't playing for the sort of money that they're playing for on television, they are playing for money, but they're not playing for life altering money. They're genuinely playing for the love of the game, and it just changes what you do. and get away a little bit from this keepers playing out from the back, and that business. Play out from the back on some of these pitches in non-league, and you'll get found out. If you could do that, you wouldn't be in non-league, would you?
No. Either that way, you've got a spectacular pitch they play on.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look in league and Premier League football. Half of the players there can't play out from the back, so
it's true.
John Stones struggled with it for years, didn't he? It's only this year that he's really started to sort of come along, I think. He was getting found out regularly, wasn't he, for Man City and for England, and it's a hard thing to do. So it changes the way you play, and being completely footballing talentless himself. Have you got any football talent? Were you any good?
Not really. No, I'm just a poacher. Me, that's it. I'll have a rubbish game, but I'll get a goal just because I've stood there in the right place at the right time at some point. Really, that's me.
But you're ahead of me because you've got a game. I wouldn't even got on the pitch.
Yeah, but I still don't go on the pitch myself, really. But anymore, yeah.
They wouldn't even let me run the line. I was that awful. So I could sort of relate better to what I see on the non-league pitch than I can on in the Premier League,
Nah, but I mean, when we talk about playing out from the back, you say it takes so long to get used to. I mean, I can remember being a Liverpool fan when we appointed Brendan Rodgers. Everyone said, "Oh, it's going to take time to get used to that tick-tacker, style of play." Playing out from the back will take a lot longer than that. Like you say, it took years for John Stones to get it right, and he's played that way for the last couple of years, hasn't he? I mean, I can remember watching England when they lost in the Nations League to Holland that night. All three of their goals were from us playing out from the back, mistakes. It's a terrible style of play.
Talking about John Stones was that game, yeah. That's it. When you look at how Leeds are playing this season, this more sort of direct and attacking sort of style, it's not really tiki-taka. It's not playing out from the back. It's rather than having a particular style and saying, right, this is what we're going to do. It's just doing the right thing at the right time, isn't it? And it actually gives the players a bit more freedom, and they actually look like they enjoy playing it that way. You think that's the way to do it? Yeah,
I thought that when I saw him last season, when I was sat in the Bristol City away end. I mean, it weren't just tick-a-taka, it was just fast-paced. It was fantastic. And like you say, doing the right thing.
And this high press, I mean, it's a hard thing to do because you've got to be very fit to do it. I would imagine that, well, I know for a fact at non-league, if you're spending your day in an office and then you're expected to go and play like that, it's a difficult old thing to do. But that's football, isn't it? At the minute,
absolutely.
Wait and see what the next new thing is, I suppose.
Yeah.
VAR in non-league, that'll be next thing.
It'll be in the Championship before anything, won't it? Really?
Mind you, some of the refereeing decisions I've seen, we need VAR.
Could you imagine it though? VAR in non-league. I mean, what would you think?
We always, because that's what we do on commentary. We always shout at the referee. We shout, "Ref, we just tipped on VAR. You got it wrong." He don't listen. I say he or she. I'd say the best referee we ever had at Frickley was a lass called Rebecca Welch, and I think she was one of the officials at the ladies' FA Cup final, either last season or season before. So she sort of rocketed through the leagues, but she was brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So one for the girls.
Well, to be fair, in terms of refereeing, it's about knowing your stuff and not making the clear and obvious mistakes, should we say? Like when you look at Mike Dean, and he's even got VAR on his side, and he's still making clear and obvious errors when he's even got the video analysis side of it. So it's about just not making that, and you've got to probably have a bit of a stubborn side to you with all the stick what you get off and fans week in, week out as well. It's not something I'd do, for me, quite honest.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with VAR was to spot clear and obvious errors, wasn't it? Like Frank Lampard's goal in the 2014 World Cup.
South Africa 2010, wasn't it? Yeah, that one. Yeah, we know what you mean, though. Yeah,
but, that's it. It was clear and obvious errors, but they're not using it for clear and obvious errors now, are they? They're using it for like when you're an inch out. That's not a clear and obvious error. That's not. That for me isn't what VAR's for.
No.
You know, or the penalty last night that wasn't given against Leeds United, where the player has dragged his foot to hit the defender. You know, that's what VAR's for. That's fine.
Yep, absolutely.
But not when it's like I say, someone's toenail is offside or their elbow's offside. That's
Sadio Mane, anyone?
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah,
John Lunsham.
exactly. So
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Jack Grealish against Burnley last year. I mean, I thought that was a disgrace.
you know, and when they watch it, they've watched it, I don't know, 10, 15 times, and they still can't make the right decision. You think, well, what was the point?
Yeah, true.
What was the point of VAR? All you've done is slowed the game down. But yeah, maybe we'll see it lower down in the game. I don't know. Who knows?
So, I mean, I've said this before. I'd like to see the offside rule change a little bit. I mean, Graham Souness pointed out he wanted to change it to where any part of your body's onside, you're onside.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, it will make it easier.
Yeah.
But then we'd probably have, the hairs on someone's elbow are onside, and that'd yeah.
Yeah, but they'd have to tailor it a bit, if you know what I mean. If someone was running the left their arm back deliberately, then they've got to think, actually, no, that one's offside. You know what I mean?
Or you say it's your boots have got to be onside. So
maybe
the rest of your body can be offside, but if your feet are onside, fine. You know, whatever rule you have, just make it a sensible rule. You know, it's almost. I can't imagine what it must be like because I don't go to a lot of Premier League football. Obviously not recently. But what must it be like? Goal goes in, you cheer, and then hang on a minute, VAR might take that back.
Well, it's happened for me. I went to Liverpool against Wolves last December, 2019, and it happened to me and my brother when we were there. It was it finished 1-0 Liverpool. The goal, Sadio Mane score. Referee stopped it as soon as it went in. Hey, VAR. Then we saw VAR review. Come on. I had a good view of it. It was a long ball forward, and it was Adam Lallana's shoulder, but they obviously thought it was his hand. It wasn't his hand. You could tell straight away. And eventually, the goal was given. And as I mentioned in my blog, it was the first time I celebrated a goal twice. and then we saw the other thing. The other way around. We saw Wolves score. They all chant "Fuck VAR, VAR review." And it was disallowed, and I watched it back and thought, that was harsh. It was his arm. It was offside.
Yeah, this is it, isn't it?
We've seen it both ways. We celebrated for that as well, by the way. But yeah, we've seen it happen.
In terms of VAR, I've done the same. I was at Spurs away when John Lunsham's big toe was offside. And we just celebrated David McGoldrick. It's his first Premier League goal of the season. In the away end, at Spurs away, you're going absolutely mental. And then, like you said, you get VAR checking. And it wasn't just like it was a 30-second check. It was literally a good 3-4 minutes we were stood there staring at a board waiting for his decision. So it not only has it slowed the game down, they was trying to find... We've always said they're just trying to find this bit where they can judge it to not give it a go. But then the flip side of it, again, when we played West Ham at home, we was 1-0 up, and in the 90th minute, Snodgrass scores. Yeah. And then VAR comes on, and then they disallow it for handball, or for hitting the hand. I think it was Declan Rice that it hit. But again, as much as they are sticking to the lines and the rules, and I went absolutely mental that West Ham didn't get it. But at the same time, I don't agree with the decisions what they're having to take. And just to get to these decisions, it's like if it's clear and obvious and it needs overruling, do it. But if you're having to get these lines out, don't bother.
Exactly. That's it. It's got to be clear and obvious. And it's like we've said, you watch it again and again, and they still don't make the same decision that you'd make.
Do you think referees and assistant referees, I'll include them in this, are becoming a bit complacent because of VAR?
How can they not be?
You know what I mean? It's like, don't worry, lads, VAR will clear it up. You know what I mean?
Because they know that it will then be looked at, and if they've got it wrong, someone will say, "Oh, you got that wrong, son." Yeah. Have another. I mean, did you watch the Chelsea game last night? And Giroud scores that overhead kick. The referee, the linesman's flag goes up. He flags it offside. And then they go through all the VAR business, and the goal is awarded. But you think, as a linesman, well, it doesn't really matter whether you put that flag up or not, because they're going to check it anyway. What's the linesman there for? Ins and outs.
This is the thing as well. I don't know what it's like this season, but I can remember last season the linesman was what we'll call it the officials. They was told to keep the flag down because if they put the flag up, they're interfering with the play. So if play stops and he's onside, but then he doesn't put the ball in the back of the net, he's stopped a goal scoring opportunity.
That makes very good sense. Yeah.
But then at the same time, what's the linesman or the official there for? Because he's there to spot offside.
Ins and outs.
Yeah.
I mean, you actually talk. I mean, this is the thing when you're at Nolly, you actually can talk to the officials, and I've spoken to officials, and I've said to the linesman, "Well, what about that foul down such and such? You saw that, didn't you?" He goes, "Yeah." Well, why didn't you tell ref? Because ref told me ins and outs.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it's got to that point where, like you say, they have to keep the flag down. But I do think that makes sense because last season I was at before lockdown, I was at Leicester City for their FA Cup game, and there's a point in that game where Ian Archer was for a referee flagged him off straight away offside. But the fans behind goal where we were like, "No, keep going, keep going." He did keep going. He ran in and scored. VAR ruled it out straight away, but it does make sense because I remember there was a game last season where Sheffield United played Newcastle at home.
Yep, John Shelby scored.
Yep, the 1-0 down, and all of a sudden, I can't remember who scored the goal, but he was through on goal.
It was John Shelby.
Shelby was through. All United teams stopped because flags gone. He's running and scoring. VAR's given it when the whole team stopped because the flags gone up, and the goal was given.
Dear, oh dear.
It's wrong, isn't it?
There was I don't suppose you two boys are old enough to remember the 1982 World Cup, are you?
Nope. Way before my time.
Kuwait played France, and someone in the crowd blew a whistle, and all the Kuwait players stopped, and the France player just ran straight on and scored. So the referee gives the goal, and then the Kuwaitis, the head of their FA or some sheikh, he comes down from the stands to the edge of the pitch, and he's calling the players off the pitch. And then the referee goes and discusses with them, and they say, "Well, we've stopped playing," and because we heard the whistle. He said, "Yes, but it's not my whistle." "Yeah, but we heard a whistle, so we all stopped." And they basically refused to play unless this goal was chalked off. And the referee did. He chalked this goal off, this perfectly good goal off.
Wow!
Because someone in the whistle had someone in the crowd, had blown a whistle, stopped the Kuwaitis playing. He subsequently then got struck off. Whatever the referee equivalent is for FIFA. Maybe that's how it should be. Maybe the players should just stop and say, "Sorry, we're not playing." He's put his flag up. Who knows?
Well, I mean, what about the Chelsea players that night? Bars, they ought to have walked off.
The
decisions that were made against them.
Oh, gotcha.
That would have helped them. I don't know.
Dear.
So, with going home and away with Frickley and Groundhoppers, what would you say the best ground you've visited?
I know I'm with Frickley, but genuinely, Frickley's is one of the best grounds in the division we're in. You go to all the other grounds, and you actually go into that ground. Have you both been to Frickley?
I haven't, no.
I don't think I have.
I know Jack's been, but I haven't.
It's genuinely like a football ground. It's got terracing and stands all the way around. There's cover both sides. It is genuinely one of the best grounds in the division. You tend to find these. I mean, you've both been to a lot of these colliery grounds. The colliery grounds are always quite good because obviously the miners used to pay their subs for the sports clubs, and obviously I'm assuming that the coal board used to put money in as well. But it genuinely is one of the best grounds in our division. I mean, otherwise, going away from Peterborough, God, I hate to say this, but if anyone that I know hears this, I'll be never allowed back in Frickley. Stamford, their new build isn't bad. I mean, have you both been to Stocksbridge?
Yeah.
Stocksbridge isn't a bad ground either, is it?
It's decent,
the best thing Jamie
ground.
Vardy did for non-league, because I think he paid for that stand, didn't he?
Oh, really? I know. Well, I know it's got his name on it, but yeah, they paid for it.
Well, his sale paid for it, I think. The money from his, what do you call it, sell-on clauses and what have you, I think, that paid for that. Someone from Stocksbridge, I'm sure, will tell me I'm wrong, but I'm sure that's why it's called the Jamie Vardy stand. That's not a bad ground for non-league. But if you go out of our division, you're struggling to beat places like Boston United. Sadly gone, of course, because they've moved into this season. Their old ground was cracker. Properly smelt of a mix of urinals and fried. Proper old style football ground. You walk in there and you go back that 30 years. It was brilliant. And a lot of great grounds in the Northern League. Places like I don't really pronounce it like that. It's pronounced Towlaw or Towlaw. The one that Chris Waddle used to play for.
That team in Durham.
Is it
Towlaw?
Towlaw?
Is it? Yeah.
I never knew it.
I've always said Towlaw.
That ground. What a cracker! What a beauty that is.
It's on my hit list. I've seen it. It looks beautiful.
Absolutely fantastic. Right up there. Crooktown, another one. Absolutely superb. Some really, really great grounds in that division. As I say, it's like going back in time. Absolutely like going back in time. Can't whack them.
Fair play, yeah. I mean, in terms of Boston United's old ground, me and Jack were actually planning on going to their last game.
And don't tell me, was it?
But
because of lockdown, you couldn't go.
Yeah, we couldn't go, and it's too late now. It's gone.
Dear.
Gutted.
Dear. It was a real. I mean, I know it had a little spell, didn't it, as a league ground, but obviously it was a non-league ground for years and years and years, and was always a decent standard of football they played there as well. And but yeah, it was a really great ground, and it was even better for me because I didn't pay to go in the last time I went, because just as we rocked up late, and me and my brother-in-law Chris, and as we were walking down the road, the gate man he'd opened one of the side gates, and he was obviously walking down the road to check to see whether someone had parked correctly or something like that, and he turned his back and left the gate open, so we nipped in through through the empty gate, open gates. We got in for free.
Fair play. It's just such a shame that they did go down, because in the Football League they were quite stable, weren't they? It was just in that last season when they went down, they went to administration.
We never used to. So when Peterborough used to play, and we never used to get much out of them. We never used to really get a result against them. Point was about all we used to take against Boston. But I mean, obviously they had the Steve Evans sort of incident, didn't they, with the illegal payment? So it suggests that things weren't quite above board, and once you start picking at threads like that, you think, well, it's they seem on a stable footing now, don't they? Because they've got who's manager there now? Craig Elliott, that used to be manager at Shaw Lane. He seems to be doing a pretty good job there. I saw him in B&Q at Castleford about 6 months ago.
Interesting fact.
Do you reckon they could get back there one day to the Football League?
Well, I mean, I've no idea what the new ground's like. I've only seen pictures of it. Their old ground, it was a league ground. So if their new ground's comparable, you'd have to say yeah. And he does seem to have this sort of Midas touch as Craig Elliott. I say Shaw Lane used to be one of my love to hate teams, but the bloke obviously knows what he's doing. And I think his assistant manager is Lee Stratford, who's ex-Frickley, so and he definitely knows what he's doing. So once a blue, always a blue. So.
So, what about the worst grounds?
Well, I mean, worst grounds. I always hate slagging anywhere off, to be honest. But I'm going to now. I'm not keen on grounds with running tracks around them. So
join the club.
If you've got a ground with a running track round, so places like the ones that springs to mind is Grantham, because you're just so far away from the pitch. And when the floodlights are on, the centre circle's dark because the floodlights are so far away. So that one springs to mind. Bradford Park Avenue, Gaul, I'll let off because their running track's very narrow. I'll also let off. Is it Bilborough Town in the non-senior league?
Yes.
Because the one thing I did like about there was I went there when it was foggy. So instead of sitting in the stands, everyone came out of the stands, crossed the track, and stood at pitch side to watch the game. And we still couldn't see where the ball was.
All right.
That foggy, but yeah. So any ground with a running track round, there you go. Which in that half of have you really done much of the grounds in Europe?
I've not seen a game abroad, mate. No,
I'm saying I've only been to one or two, and I'm not keen because they've got running tracks around them. So I don't crave, European travel. I'd sooner go somewhere in this country.
Fair dues. Which two grounds were they?
I've been to went to Parc des Princes, saw Paris Saint-Germain about 25 years ago, and I've been to a couple of very, very low, like what would be about the equivalent of step 7 or 8 in Holland, and they've got a lot of 3G over there because they don't have PE lessons in school. They have half a day off every week. They're expected to go and do sport. So the government pumps a lot of money into grassroots football. So every grassroots football club, every little village has got a 3G pitch with running tracks and swimming pools and got amazing facilities for the kids. So but yeah, running tracks. Not for me.
Fair enough, mate. You're not the only one. It's the second podcast in a row that's said that Grantham's ground's not the best, unfortunately for them.
Yeah.
Everyone says, running tracks. It's the thing that no one's keen on, but yeah, Grantham. Not for me.
Well, this is it. Again, like you said, this is the second podcast in a row, so we touched on it last podcast, but I went to London Stadium where West Ham play, and in comparison to Upton Park is so much better than the new stadium they're in. And Don Valley Stadium was the other one what I went to when Rotherham played there, and there's no atmosphere or anything. It's atrocious. You can tell it's
especially
not a football
when the place that they had in both cases, the Upton Park, even when all seater made the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end, and obviously Millmoor again. Another one, a proper old school football ground, and the comparison must be jarring to them being a ground with a track around it. Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah. It's the same with the Gateshead. Anyone done Gateshead?
The thing that puts me off is it's got a running track.
I mean, I'll still go to these grounds, mate, if I get the chance, definitely.
I will still go. However, I mean, if I have a choice, so I went on holiday a few years ago, and we were going to the Isle of Wight the next day, and we had a one-night stay just outside Portsmouth, and I had the choice of they're called Portsmouth United Services, or what were they called now? Some other team out of the Wessex League. And when I found out that Portsmouth United Services had a running track, sack it and go to the other one because I had to choose one of the two. I'm not picking. If that's me. If my choice is between one and another, I know where I'm going.
I didn't know Parc des Princes had a running track around.
To be fair, no, it doesn't. Parc des Princes, though, I tell you what Parc des Princes has is when you go to your seat, someone shows you to your seat. You can't just go to your seat and use your ticket and find it. Someone has to show you to your seat, and you have to pay them for showing you to your seat.
What you have to, or just tip them
until you do, until you tip them.
Oh,
so
okay.
They do stand there, and they just stand there, and they just wait for you to get your hand in your pocket.
Wow.
And, well, can you imagine that going down well at, say, the New York or at Bramall Lane?
Oh dear! I mean, the Steel City derby 2 seasons ago at Bramall Lane. After about 9 minutes, I saw a fan fighting with a steward. So no, it wouldn't be done well. Like you just know, fans are just going to be like, "You're not having any more money." Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But if everyone contributed, just think how much that they're going to be taking home each game.
Well, I mean, if the money went to the club and not the steward, then they'd think,
I think at lower level, at lower leagues, I think outside the top two divisions, people would. Then again, I mean, some of the prices they charge even lower down the league, you think, good God. I mean, when I was going away with when I used to go away with Peterborough, there were grounds where I thought, God, I can't do this. Fleetwood was the one that absolutely killed me off, and I finally relented this last season because it was about the only game that stayed on because of the weather, and I went to Fleetwood and it cost me £40 for me and my son. Watch League One.
Mm-hmm.
Dear oh dear, and he was a child's ticket. So it was 20. I think it was £27 for me, or £28 for me, and £12 for him. Yeah, blimey, that is ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
You know, you think
shocker.
Yeah, make.
This is the thing with.
Go ahead.
This is the only thing with the Premier League is that as an away fan, the maximum you can pay for an away ticket is £30, and I can remember, as a Sheffield United fan, in the Championship, I was paying £42 to go to Leeds away and £42 to go to Sheffield Wednesday away, paying £30 to go to like Middlesbrough away and stuff, and just ridiculous prices.
Absolutely. You feel like you do actually feel sorry for some kids because you think they're never going to get this experience. As I say, I used to go to Arsenal and Peterborough. Arsenal was expensive, and that was £3.50. I used to go to Chelsea now and then. Chelsea was absolute arm and a leg. It was £4. You know, and you say back then we genuinely did say, well, should we go to Arsenal? Should we go to Chelsea? We'll go to Arsenal because it's 50p cheaper. You know, whereas now looking back, the prices were laughable, but it was something you could actually genuinely afford. Whereas now, I mean, well, there's your argument for non-league, isn't it? Everyone should be going to non-league.
Yeah.
They'll appreciate £5 more.
Then I hope that people still go to non-league after all this is over.
I mean, they talked, didn't they, about clubs going to the wall because of lockdown, and I haven't heard huge numbers of clubs going out of business. So I'm hoping, keeping fingers crossed and touching wood every day, that not too many of them, go.
Well, the only teams I've heard is Macclesfield. They'll be back. There was Droylsden. They resigned. I think they'll be back eventually. It might be a bit longer for them, but Macclesfield will be back next season. But Droylsden, they've gone. But I think they'll come back eventually. They just resigned to save money. I've heard that Kings Lynn Town apparently can't afford to finish the season.
Dover as well in the National League.
Dover are in trouble as well, but there's only them that I can think of. Really.
Dover's another
Can't think of anybody else.
I was on holiday not far from Dover, and I was actually going down that day. And if I sort of drove like the wind and dropped the bags as quick as I could and drove to the ground, I'd have only missed about, I don't know, the first half. I'd have got the second half. And in the event, I think Wrexham's bus broke down, so I actually got the entire game at Dover, and their ground is ever so impressive. Their main stand looks like it's been made out of like strips of wood. Looks like it's been built by IKEA. So the thought that they could go under for a club that it's a league ground. It's shocking.
Well, I mean, before all this as well, they were actually challenging in the playoffs before all the money troubles, weren't they?
A few players over the years of Dover. I mean, they had that Ricky Miller.
Yes.
Time,
I've met him. Yeah. Played for Mansfield for a short while as well. I wanted him to stay.
Peterborough, I think, as well.
Yes, he did. Yeah, I remember that. That's where we signed him from.
He played in the Northern Premier League. Did Ricky Miller, I think, for Corby. Where he's sort of done the round. I think he's older shot now, but.
Yes, I'm about to say that. Yeah, he scored the other night. I remember seeing him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's a good player. Very good. But for Dover, I hope they survive.
All of them, I mean,
and come back stronger.
You take away like your club allegiances, and like I say, Kings Lynn's and all that lot. Whoever it is, you don't really want to see them go under.
No.
Who would I love to hate?
Absolutely.
In terms of experience, then, what's the best set of fans you've experienced, and what's the worst set of fans you've experienced?
Oh,
you can be biased as you like if you want, mate.
I'd be Frickley, Peterborough, Leeds. It's on the day, isn't it? It's what's happening, isn't it, on the pitch, and that sort of dictates what goes on off the pitch. I mean, at Frickley, the one that springs to mind is last January. We've got a real rivalry with Stamford, and was it 2017-18? We played them in the playoff semi-final. We'd beaten them twice during the league season, and of course we then got them in the semi-final of the playoffs. And if we'd have won, just get into the final, because of out of the finalists, we had something like the highest points total. We would have got promoted whether we won or lost the final. It didn't matter. We only had to win the semi-final. We didn't have to win the final, and we lost in the semi-final to Stamford. So this sort of rivalry has sort of built up over the years, and they absolutely caned us at the beginning of the last season, 5-1, and we were lucky. We really were lucky. I think we were 5-0 down when we got the one, and we played them at home and we won. We nicked it 1-0, and it was I can't remember. I think it was their first defeat of the season or their first away defeat of the season, and the crowd that day. I mean, there was only 200 in the ground, but cool blimey, they made more noise than 200, and it was opposition's manager got sent off, and instead of going in or going somewhere else, he just stood on the terrace with all these fans baying at him, and that sort of experience. Fantastic. I said there's only 200 people there, but amazing. Every bit as good as being in the Champions League semi-final with Leeds. Every bit as good as winning at Wembley with Peterborough. So, they've all got their moments. I can remember Garforth Town winning the Yorkshire Cup, West Riding Cup, about 20 years ago. Amazing night, 600 people there, brilliant. It's on the day, isn't it? You must have games yourself where the game perhaps didn't even particularly mean anything, but the atmosphere was just electric. And you're saying about Steel City derbies must be amazing. That sort of thing.
They are.
Just, hairs on the back of your neck, innit? That absolutely brilliant. Are you both Sheffield United fans?
I am. Since I moved to Sheffield, I've taken a more like to them than Wednesday. But yeah, me, I'm Liverpool, and follow my local Mansfield town.
That crowd at Anfield is hard to beat. I mean, being on the Kop
is fantastic.
Really is something else. I went with. I once went to Anfield, actually not on a Liverpool day, when Wales played a home game there, and even that was just amazing. Atmosphere. They played Italy, I think, and my God, what an atmosphere! Just amazing atmosphere. The Welsh fans talk about getting behind their team, just absolutely baying for blood for 90 minutes. Absolutely, I couldn't hear anything. Couldn't hear the teams. Couldn't hear who scored the goals. Couldn't hear a thing. Absolutely deafening it was. And when they played the national anthem, sung the national anthem, my God, just and I say obviously I'm not Welsh, but what a great crowd that was, So but and do you want worst fans? Me.
Yeah.
I'm awful. I'm 50 years old, nearly 50 years, 50 years old in a couple of weeks. I should know better. The things I say and do on a football terrace, oh my God. Absolute embarrassment. Come away and think, my God, what was I thinking? Yeah, me. If I'm not allowed to have me, I'd go back to Grantham. I'll have them.
Okay. Oh dear. Grantham Town are going to hate us soon, honestly. If they keep saying this.
They won't be following us on Twitter anytime soon.
And if they banned me, I won't be that bothered. I won't be still worried.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that, please.
Take another place. I mean, you say worst. Actually, it's almost worse than best, because I've been to Scarborough, and they were awful. They were horrible with the Scarborough fans. Yeah, everything Frickley did, they were baying at. Every time we shouted for our team, they were screaming us down. They were booing us. But actually, they're the best fans, aren't they? Because they actually care enough to, even at non-league, they want to chant you down. They want to put you down and sort of try and intimidate you. And it wasn't physical intimidation. It was, just trying to put you on edge and put you off. And that's it. You don't want your own ground to be somewhere that people want to come to. You want to make it, a bear pit that no one wants to play on. So maybe the worst fans actually are the best fans as well. Who knows?
I think that's why a lot of people like Leeds fans, really, because they are the. I said it, but I thought that the reason why they get a lot of stick Leeds fans is because they're that passionate. You wish you were them. You wish your team were that passionate.
You don't want to go there, do you?
No.
You don't want to go there.
I do. I think so.
Part of the reason. You not think why people don't like grounds with running tracks around? Because you haven't got the crowd right on the pitch, right next to you. Some of the old grounds, the baseball ground. My God, you were right on the pitch. Highbury, you were right on the pitch. Upton Park, you're right on the pitch. No one wanted to be down that wing next to the chicken run. It was toxic. As an away player. And as a fan, you think, well, God, if I can give my team just 1% advantage, that's why you bay and you shout and you scream for your team, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Where else can you do it? Probably won't be able to shout after lockdown. Masks on and no shouting, and so be a thing of the past.
In terms of the teams you mentioned there, Garforth Town, have they still got an atmosphere at their home ground? Because I remember years ago when I was a kid, I saw them come to Shirebrook Town and they were incredible. They brought a drum and everything.
You know what?
Are they still like that now?
They're not bad actually. There's
okay.
My lad's 17. He's not. He likes football. He comes to football all the time. But I know a lot of his mates go to Garforth Town. And when I've been down there, they all stand behind the home goal, and they shout all game. So and you think, well, at that point, Garforth are doing something right because they've got a little core following of must be about 15 lads or so, and 15 at Garforth Town is probably about 15% of their gate. So yeah, I think they don't do too bad, to be honest. Like I say, I've certainly been down there years and years back when they had the old ground, and like I say, when they reached the West Riding Cup and Cup semi-final, they used to have a lad play for them called Brendan Ormsby, who used to play for Leeds and Aston Villa, and he was captain, and he was doing all the shaking his fists at the crowd and geeing them up, and he used to get for our own game, we used to get like about 300 down there, which at that level was pretty good. But I think the problem with their current ground is, have you been to Garforth Town?
Not yet, no, but I've kept an eye on it just because of the atmosphere, but I've not got around to going there yet.
Yeah, definitely.
All right,
coldest place,
get wrapped up
the
then.
two coldest grounds I've ever been to was I went to Burnley in January when it snowed. Don't know how the game played on. Took about 4 hours to drive out from Burnley to Leeds. Watch cars skidding off all over the road. And like I say, by the time I got home, it was about 6 inches of snow. I think my son nearly got hypothermia. Or it was either that or it was Garforth Town in April. Yeah, that wind
in April.
Oh, blimey, never been cold. Absolutely freezing.
Oh dear.
And the stand funnels the wind. It's got a gap at the back. The wind comes through the stand and whistles out the back. Oh God, it's cold. Dear, it's cold. But
oh dear.
It's not a good experience when you're cold.
They say, don't they,
game.
There's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. But I obviously had bad clothing on that day. I mean, it's a place that I always try and get down to at least a couple of Garforth games a year, just because it's not far away. I live about 5-minute drive away, 10-minute drive at the outside, and always try and get down there for some pre-season friendlies or league games, and went to the FA Youth Cup down there the other year. Sorry. But yeah, no, I think for teams at this level, they've got a pretty good atmosphere. Actually, I think perhaps an overspill from their Northern Premier League days, maybe. I don't know. I sort of, you know, I actually lived here when Socrates, Socrates played for Garforth. And I've got a feeling that Leeds were at home that day. So I went to the Leeds game rather than go down up the road to see Socrates. I mean, I sort of regret it, but sort of don't, because I think, well, it was just a gimmick, you know. Seeing some old bloke play for 10 minutes, is that really Socrates? I don't know. But they had all sort of gimmicks like that, didn't they? They had Lee Sharp play for them, that used to play for Man United and Leeds. You know, and used to get players down like that. And they had, quite recently, they had a couple of ex-Leeds players play for them, other than Brendan Ormsby. But no, I think they do pretty well, to be honest. And they always seem to be quite a when you go there, always seems to be quite welcoming, and you know, people actually bothered. Oh, did you have a good time? And can you see all right? And you know, that sort of stuff. So yeah, no, good.
That's good, yeah. Is it the same with Stamford? They got a big crowd at home as well.
I mean, they brought a few that night when they played us in the playoff semi. But normally they don't bring very many at all, because I suppose it's quite away. But at home they seem to get really good crowds, and they actually get a crowd. I mean, the measure I always think at non-league is a crowd that's big enough to chant, and they actually get a chant going. You know, and you can hear them chanting Stamford, or usually chanting something less complimentary about Frickley. But you think, well, whilst it's, you know, on the one hand you for your own team, you can at least see that there's a bit of passion there. So and anytime you see that, there's always a bit of respect for any team that have got that sort of support. For me, yeah.
Fantastic. I knew Scarborough had a big following because they used to be in the Football League. But if it's intimidating, then I'm sure that'll be a good time, because that's one ground I really do want to see.
It's a funny old one, because it's 3G. That's
when I get
a
chance.
You know, we're saying about not being particularly keen on grounds with running tracks. 3G, it's one of them. Yeah, it's a love-hate, and it's on the one hand you think, well, it's a funding stream for the club. You know it's going to be on if it rains, but the flip side, it's just not quite football, is it?
No. Well, you tell me at Nostell that night that their ground's not suitable to go up, get promoted. I don't know. It looks really nice, though, doesn't it? Look at pictures.
The regulations. I know there's something to do with pitches, like you've not got to have much of it. You're only allowed a very slight slope, aren't you? Or whether it's with the bounce test. I know Sutton Coldfield, a 3G, and they had a lot of problem with they were failing the bounce tests. But when you go there, you look at their pitch, and you know the game Subbuteo. When you get your Subbuteo pitch out of the attic and it's still wrinkly because you haven't ironed it properly. Well, that's what their 3G pitch was like. So you could sort of see why they were having problems. But Scarborough, can't see at all why.
I think, isn't it because the ground's part of a university campus or something? It must be. I think I've heard it. I've heard it's a university. I don't know which uni, but it's a university campus. I don't know which one, but it must be that. Surely
that was one of the best bits about it, because it had a massive car park for the university and for the leisure centre there. So there was loads of parking. And it was free. So loads of free parking because no one's there on a weekend or of an evening. So there's plenty of parking when you want to park there. And that was the best bit about it. So the thought that they can't move up because of that is a bit of a shame, isn't it? But I suppose the rules are the rules.
Yeah, because you told me that they were doing quite well in the league, and then all the players left to join Buxton, and that's why they're doing really well. And Scarborough aren't doing so well.
Picked up about 3 or 4, didn't they? The old Scarborough team. I suppose Scarborough also struggle a bit because of where they are, don't they? I mean, you go and play for Scarborough, it's a bit of a trek, isn't it? And you know. Whereas Buxton, I suppose, if you live in Sheffield, you can go to Buxton. If you live in Manchester, Buxton, Stoke, you know, you see they've got much more of a catchment area, I suppose. But still,
absolutely,
it is and they're still working on it as well, aren't they, Scarborough? So they're still putting up extra stands and constantly looking to develop the place.
I'm sure they'll be fine. They'll get that sorted.
All the people higher up will see sense. I mean, if you've got a ground that's pulling in 1,500 people each week, why would you not let them go up the leagues?
Exactly. They can afford it, and they get the revenue for it. Well, I think that they are one off the National League North, aren't they? They're the league below there.
That's right.
So yeah,
absolutely.
They can do it.
I think they were one of the first Peterborough games I went to was the old Scarborough before they. Because what are they now? They're Scarborough Athletic. When they were Scarborough before.
Yes.
Like I say, I think we got hammered 4-1 at home. With an ex-Blade playing from, what was his name? Colin Morris. There's one for the old Blades fans.
The Theatre of Chips as well. It was called, wasn't it?
Peterborough relegated because that last day, we drew 1-1.
You did, didn't you?
The day that Jimmy Glass scored that header for Carlisle, and if we hadn't equalised, Scarborough would have stayed up. So yeah.
The famous Jimmy Glass moment. But we'll never know what would have happened to Carlisle if he hadn't scored.
They did go down, didn't they, a few years later? So they did go down.
They did, exactly. They did. So maybe they want to.
Seem to be doing very nicely, thank you. Like I say, that's definitely one that I want to get to. Have you, neither of you got there with your respective teams yet, or have you been to Brunton Park?
Well, Mansfield have been in their league for the last few years, but I've never been to Carlisle away.
Definitely want to go to, but oh god, it's a long way.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, in terms of non-league football and the experience, if someone was trying to get into it, what would you say the best part of non-league
every
and the
time
experience you get from it?
Like I say, some of my best friends I've met at non-league football, and it's that everywhere you go, you know someone. You know, every ground you go to, you know someone there, and half the time you know someone on the pitch as well. I went to a friendly at just before Christmas. Trafford played Matlock in a friendly, and I went along. There was an ex-Frickley player playing. Had a chat with an ex-Frickley player as he came off pitch. Oh, how are you, mate? How are you doing? And and then the referee walks off, and the referee, he was a good friend of one of the people from Frickley as well. And Barry, how are you? You know, chatting away at the referee, and you always know someone, don't you? I think that's it. I say for me, I'd always advise. Makes me sound like I actually know what I'm talking about. For me, volunteering has been the thing that I've really enjoyed, and actually, feeling part of the club and feeling like you're doing someone a favour and helping out as well. Because I know for certain, going to the football for me, what it does for your mental health, certainly through this lockdown, has been brilliant. It's can't beat it. So yeah, I'd say. And but as for ground hopping, you'd say, well, aren't all blokes collectors? Gives you lists to collect, doesn't it? Which grounds you've been to, and
yeah.
Because I'll bet for a penny to a pound, both of you know exactly how many grounds you've been to. Do you? Yeah, there you are. How many? Go on.
Yes. For me, it's I've got 69 grams done.
Right. Well, I won't tell you mine. Then.
I'm on 103.
No, okay. No, because it makes it sound like
Go on, tell us.
Telling you just so I could tell you. But no, exactly. 412. 412.
No, go on.
Come on, Ken.
But I tell you what, though, I've done most of them
fantastic.
since my brother-in-law broke his hip about 5 years ago. Up until then, I was probably in the 70s or 80s, and I've done most of them in the last 5 years. Just because there's so much football on.
Wow.
And there's football grounds everywhere. You just don't realise, do you? Pick any city, you will find dozens of grounds, within sort of half an hour drive.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
Well,
every little town's got one, and some of them have even got two.
Use, the only reason I don't use footballology as much is because it doesn't go low enough for me. Don't go down past. It goes as far as step 6. Don't go to step 7. So I use.
Yeah, don't go to step 7. You're right. Yeah.
And on there, just got everything on there. And if it's not on there, and you go to a ground that's not on there, you text in or email in, and they stick it on for you, and it's there. You know, brilliant. Can't whack it, but yeah, like so it's collecting, isn't it? It's panini stickers for big boys.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, there's a way of collecting stuff. I collect pin badges personally, but you can collect scarves, programs. There's loads of things, even shirts in some cases, and hats, caps.
Yeah, for me, it's just anything. The place. I click on my website, and I mean, my map. I mean, obviously I'm from down south originally, but if you actually look at my map of the grounds of where I've been to, it's all focused. It's this northern part of Britain. You know, swathes across, you know, Yorkshire, Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, you know, Lincolnshire, Northumberland, those sort of places. It's this area, because I say I've only done it really for the last 4 or 5 years. You know, it's having the time and the inclination, isn't it? That's what it is. It's petrol money. I think that's the bit it costs you. It's not so much your entrance fee. It's getting there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, with the Frickley, what would you say your favourite moment's been since being with the club?
Yeah, that's a hard question. That you know, it would have to probably be of all the. I mean, you say the current manager, Dave Frecklington, is absolutely superb. And we've had recently, you know, we had Martin McIntosh, the ex Rotherham defender, and current Grantham manager as manager, and you know, we've had some great times with them. But for me, we played Skelmersdale about the season got relegated 16-17, and we were 2-0 up and coasting, and one of their players had got sent off after 8 seconds. 8 seconds. We videoed it, so we know it was 8 seconds. No, I can only actually find 2 quicker sending offs anywhere in world football. I spent days researching this, so I reckon it was the third fastest sending off anywhere in the world ever. But that could be wrong. If anyone knows better. And we were 2-0 up. We were coasting. 5 minutes to play. It was just like the 1979 FA Cup final. And they pulled it back to 2-2. And so the board had gone up saying it was in injury time. We've got, I don't know, 3 minutes to play. And a lad who used to play for Doncaster Rovers, Joe Pugh, he poached a goal at the back post in injury time. Absolutely went mental. Again, embarrassed myself. Absolutely embarrassed myself. He's on YouTube. You can see me running down the stand cheering, and like I say.
So what's the video on YouTube? I search
Skelmersdale, I would have thought. 3-2,
3-2.
At the end,
I'll have to check that one out, mate.
Really unseemly for someone of my age. Really should know better.
You stood behind the goal.
I just ran down the stand, just shouting and screaming. But yeah, so a single moment of non-league football, and to which end, you know, it really was. It was just in the moment, because the actual result itself didn't make a huge amount of difference, because we still got relegated. So, you know, it was purely because we thought we got it won, and then it was snatched away, and then we got it back again, and it all happened so quickly. You know, you'll have been at games like that yourself. You know, I had it the other way around. We were 4-1 up at Pickering with 8 minutes to play and drew 4-4, and they scored twice in time added on. So, you know, I've had it the other way, and I've been with Peterborough. I think we were 4-2 up at Oldham, going into the last 5 minutes, and lost 5-4. So. You know, I sort of try and be. I remember Bobby Robson once said years ago that even when you lose, at least you know the other team went home happy. So someone went home happy. So sort of think of it that way. I sort of try and think of it that way. I mean, the most gutted I ever was after a game was when Leeds played Barcelona in the Champions League, and we were 1-0 up for most of the game. And Rivaldo scored in injury time. It was one of Paul Robinson's first games for Leeds, and he played an absolute blinder, and he got beat right in injury time. And I was absolutely gutted. When I came home and parked my car on my drive, I wasn't concentrating and smashed my wing mirror on the corner of my house as well. Got a right bad night.
Oh,
my
no.
missus, wise woman that she is, although not wise enough to avoid me, wise woman that she is, she said, well, why do you go if you don't, if it makes you this annoyed? And from that time on, I actually thought, you know what, she's right. I've got to go and enjoy the game as well. And, so even when you've lost points when you should have won them, I sort of go, well, are out in the fresh air, are out watching football, are out with my mates, had a nice chat with so-and-so, and take it all that way now. So pretty sanguine about it, but still embarrass myself at the key moments.
Yeah. And what about your favourite moment with Peterborough?
Favourite moment with Peterborough's got to be the playoff final 1992 when we got promoted from what was then. It was when they changed the names of the division, so we went from Division 3 to Division 1. But it was really from 3 to 2. And we beat Stockport County, and it was 1-1. Looked like it was going to extra time, and Ken Kenny, picked up the ball on halfway and just charged at goal, and then just smashed it in from about 20 yards. And that was at the old Wembley as well. So the old Wembley was something very, very special. It was another one of these ones that smelt of urinals and fried onions, but when you knew what else had happened at that stadium, to see your team win there, and it was the first time we'd ever been to the playoff finals as well. So brilliant day with that. Brilliant day.
Fantastic.
Right, we'll finish with the final question. This is a question we ask everyone. If you could sum up Groundhoppers, or if you could sum up football in three words,
well,
what would it be?
It would be people. It'd be tea, as in cups of tea, and it'd have to be floodlights, floodies. It's like an evening game, and you go into the game, you can see the floodlights in the distance. Is there anything better? And as you actually get into the ground, and there's just something about floodlit football, just amazing, isn't it? So there you are. People, tea, floodies. I've got a scar on my hand from where I spilt a cup of tea at Worksop Town and burnt my hand. So that's the nearest I've got to a tattoo. My Worksop Town tea burn.
Love that. That's brilliant.
I must have had cups of tea.
To a tattoo.
What I have? I think cups of tea all the way from Portsmouth to Inverness, Thistle. So no.
You didn't spill it celebrating a goal, did you?
What I think actually happened was I spotted someone who used to play for Frickley, because it wasn't a Frickley game. I think it wasn't Worksop either. I think it was Handsworth Paramore were playing Cleethorpes Town the year they got to Wembley, and I'd spotted, and I was sort of pointing out, oh look, it's so and so that used to play Frickley, and spilt my tea on my hand, and blistered and everything. Tea's my drink of choice, and so cup of people, tea, and floodlights. There you go. Has anyone had all those three before? Good. What sort of things do other people pick?
This is a new one.
Have they?
Well, what have we had? We've had loads of different. Everyone's had a different one, haven't they? We've had some as simple as what did Keith say? Was it passionate?
Oh, that's
well.
Good.
He changed it to like the beautiful game or something like that at the end.
We've had bit bite bug. We've even had as simple as it's for everyone, haven't we? So it differs with everybody, doesn't it?
Homophobia campaign, and we've had we always have
yes.
I can't remember when the day is, what time of the year it is. I think it's about February time, the weekend that they have, and we always get involved with that at Frickley, and they send us things like rainbow footballs and rainbow captain's armbands and rainbow laces and shirts for the players to warm up in.
Yeah,
and it's funny, we did a video that again is online somewhere for football versus homophobia, and when they said, so we all held the ball and said something about non-league football, and that was what I said. I said it's for everyone. Yeah, that's it. and it is. The way that the Premier League has priced people out of the game. If you want real football, I think I read someone, it might have been one of you two earlier on in the day, saying, it might have been Graham Kenworthy, who said that the government don't even recognise that the game exists below sort of the elite level, but it's there, and I'm a teacher myself, and all the kids I keep saying, look, get yourself out to non-league football. It's cheaper. You'll get to meet the players. You'll meet people. You'll see the game right. You'll get hit by the ball. You'll get you'll actually be able to afford a can of Coke and a burger and what have you, rather than whatever they charge you at what is it, Wembley? Is it £8 for a burger or something like that? Ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. £10 for a programme.
Like that,
oh dear. Not a chance. No. But
no chance.
That's me redeeming myself with Fleetwood. They might charge £40 to get you in, but they only charge £1 for their programmes. So yeah,
you take that, won't you? Yeah. With the FA as well, they could do with a chairman who's seen that level grassroots.
Possibly, yeah.
Someone like Trevor Brooking. He's done it from grassroots. He knows the game inside and out. He'd be perfect for that role.
Didn't he? Or was it Newcastle Blue Star? One of the teams up that way. So he has.
Someone learnt it up there.
Maybe though, it doesn't need to be someone that's a name. Maybe it just needs to be someone that really is from that level. Maybe it could be a Groundhopper.
Yeah.
If they want anyone,
imagine that.
Free. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, we'll finish it. We'll finish it there.
Ken, mate, thank you for coming. It's been fantastic.
No one else listens.
And
they tell me stuff. They genuinely they tell me stuff at Frickley. Like, we can't tell anyone. Who'd care? No one wants to know. There's only me who wants to know. I love hearing all this gossip around the club. No one. If I said to anyone else, you are. There's only about another 200-300 people in the world that'd be bothered. So, no, brilliant. Lovely talking to you, gents. Lovely talking to you. Hopefully, we'll see you again at some point soon.
No, and I'm.
You too, mate.
And I was just about to say that. You beat me to it. Yeah, I'm sure we'll see you at Frickley or anywhere else on the road.
I should keep my eyes on the message group, and if anyone gets any fixtures, Graham was being very cagey, wasn't he, today? So yeah.
Well, I'm sure you'll know if Frickley are involved in any of their mini leagues.
We will, just because I want to see Frickley. But if financially it's not viable, which is very possible, because they have bills to pay like anyone else. I'll watch anyone. I think I was still with Graham at a game when I was looking. He was asking about a fixture, and I went through my phone, and I got something like 90 odd tabs open, of which about 70 of them are all the different local leagues. So I can look up the fixtures and see who's playing. So if they stick it on the internet, I'll be looking. So I'll be there. But yeah, hope we see you there soon. Touch wood.
Touch wood, mate. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you for having me.
Right. Thank you for coming on, Ken, mate.